freshman year orientation. Well, prior to uh, the orientation time, we enrolled in Newberry College or applied to Newberry College as part of a dare to my grandmother. And my grandmother, who was very, very strict, wanted me to enroll in either Benedict or Allen, and I wanted to go to South Carolina State, Johnson C. Smith, or Spelman. And there was nothing wrong with Benedict or Allen, but I knew she would be there every day. She would catch a ride, a bus, or something. And you never knew what time. And I knew she would come at the time I would be talking. We could be having a group study. But if there was a male there, if there was a male presence, that's not what she saw it as. And I knew what her reaction would be. And so I candidly said to her, well, if I got to camp on your doorstep, I might as well stay in your house. So I will enroll in Newberry College. Well, there was no way that I would have been accepted because in my mind, I was from the wrong side of the tracks. And in her mind, too, who you think gonna take you at Newberry College? I mean, we just made it a joke. No, yeah. So I did apply. And lo and behold, when we were about to concede to each other, we sent, talked to the guidance counselor and said, well, we changed our minds, well, we didn't think the application was there anyway. And next thing we knew, the representatives from the college was knocking on our door. And they said, we're hoping that you would reconsider and enroll. And my grandmother said, no, she can't go by herself. He said, well, that'd be 10. There'll be 9 others and 10 altogether. So that's how I came up with the concept, where are the other 9? Because when I arrived for orientation, I looked around, I said, okay, where are they? So I'm thinking, well, they're here somewhere. So what I decided to do was to sit in the 4th row on the left side in the first seat. And when everybody started coming in, they sat 3 rows behind me on both sides of the aisle. And then there were 3 empty rows in front of me on both sides of the aisle. There were 6 empty rows, except in the chair that I was sitting in. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, am I in the wrong area? Is this reserved for somebody special? But anyway, to make a long story short, we're in the president addressing the freshman class. So nobody says anything to me. So I said, well, I'm just going to stay here and see what happens. And I'm trying to recall, I don't think he ever said my name. I think he said we have a new experience this year. And we're not going to ask her to stand. So I'm saying to myself, I think it's obvious what the new experience is. You don't have to ask me to stand. I've got 6 empty rows, on both sides of the aisle. And so we finished with the orientation. And I was so excited. I said, well, now I'll get to see the others. Got up, went outside, looked around. Okay. They're just late coming. Maybe they're not coming today, but they just had a difficult time. Or maybe not. They just, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, they're out-of-state students, so they haven't finished up everything. So they're coming maybe next week, or maybe 3 or 4 days ahead of us, So anyway, a young lady by the name of Christian Vaverin, she told me, she walked over to me, and she said to me, I'm accustomed to people of color. She said, my father is in the service. And she said, you're going to be all right. And she gave me a hug, and that perked me up. That made me feel so much better that she took that opportunity and that time to make me feel comfortable, because she could tell I was beginning to get uncomfortable. Because, like I said, I was expecting the other students, the other 9 Black students, to come up. While I'm sitting there in orientation, I'm saying to myself, well, they're sitting in the back of the auditorium. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So the day goes by, and Christine stays with me. She stayed with me during the entire time until it's time for us to leave to go home. So that was that experience. I don't how I got through it. I really don't remember. No, but like I said, I believe Christine helped me. I knew she did. I asked the academic dean, and I asked him. I said, you said there was going to be 10 of us, and where are the other 9? And he said, oh, we changed our mind. We're going to wait and see what happens to you first. I said, oh, no. That's not what you explained to my grandmother and me. You said that give it a month. And one of the things they said was when they was talking to us, with the other 9 children, she'll have a chance to interact with students from other places and still be at home. I said, I remember you saying that to my grandmother. That's why we reconsidered and decided to let me attend. So he said, well, no, we have to wait and see what happens to you. And again, I'm going like, I don't think so. So I said, well, now, you all told us that if I weren't satisfied or didn't feel comfortable, that I could leave. He said, oh, no, you can't transfer. I said, oh, yes, I can. I said, I don't know why I can't transfer. He said, you're in a position wherein you have to stay. And at that time, I did not know or understand the reason that I was really there. I thought that it was because they were accepting diversity. But later, we learned that the college was about to go bankrupt. All the old money had died out. The children at that time were not putting their money in the college. They did not have sentimental values. And the college had taken every step possible to stay open. Finally, they had to apply for federal funding. And one of the requirements for federal funding was diversity. And they had to meet 2 criteria. They had to have a person of color. At that time, we went as Black. And they had to have more females on campus. So they got all that criteria met in one person. And so, like I said, I protested, and then they just came out and told me, if you leave, you will not receive a collegiate education, you nor your descendants. And I'm saying, how can you do that? I said, you don't have any control over Black colleges, And they said, yes, we do. And you got to remember now, this was 1966. So they were the powers to be. And after pleading, crying, begging, I tried to recall where we were. And finally, I had to make a choice. I had to think about myself, or I had to think about my people, my family. When you think about your children, your grandchildren not going to college because your little pride was hurt, that's a difficult decision. So I decided, I prayed. I was 17 years old, just 17. And I prayed. I said, God, please help me to make the right decision. I said, because I am the first. I'm the first in the family to even graduate high school. So now here I am attending a prestigious all-white male-dominated college. Ooh, what a weight. That was the world on your shoulders. And if I walk away, then my family line, my descendants won't be able to attend college. So I realized I had to put on my big girl drawers and pull them up. My freshman year, um, it it was bittersweet. As I said, Christine helped a lot by her being there. But then guess what? Because she was military, she called herself a military brat. And because she was a military brat, guess what? She was being transferred again because daddy was moving. And so I'm saying to myself, okay, now what am I going to do? And I guess this must have occurred after being there for about a week or 2 weeks. And so finally, another person came to me. Her name was Nancy Dennis, Nancy Seal at the time. And she came to me and she was real sweet. She said, I'm Nancy Seal. She said, I'm accustomed to being around Black people. She was from Charleston, South Carolina. She said, they asked me to be your monitor, your mentor. So I said, okay. And she gave me the key to her room. She said, here's the key to my room. Anytime you need to rest between classes, you're more than welcome. And that just perked me up. I said, oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank God. I won't have to be here by myself. And I worked in the library with the work study, as a work study program. And they were very nice. Like I said, I tell people, it was bittersweet, but more sweet than bitter. It was a long time before people used to ask me to describe my experience at Newberry College. And I couldn't describe it because, like I said, as sweet as there were in the bittersweet, things like that, it said there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you can talk about the good, you can talk about the bad, but sometimes that ugliness, you just can't talk about it. It happened. You can't do anything about it. It's over with. Move forward. And yet you feel that you need to talk about it so that it doesn't happen to anyone else. And I suppressed that for a long, long time. I'm 75 years old, and it still bothers me. But for 3 years on that campus, they really did not admit another African American, male or female. And my senior year, but I would tell myself, let me share this, each year, and this was another way I was able to get through the situation, I would say, well, they're coming. They're coming. Freshman year, I said, well, they're coming. Maybe this semester. That is one thing that helped me to go through this, was the fact that somebody's going to come. And they did. They came when I was a senior and they were freshmen. And they had to come because at that time, HEW, which was the Office for Civil Rights now, were on campus. They came to visit. And I think the administrators thought that they only had to show an attempt at diversity. But HEW said, no, you have to sustain, maintain diversity in order to get, don't show us that. They wanted to say, well, we had a person on campus and she graduated, and so we're making the effort. And so one thing I do recall is this was my senior year. I knew what real power was. I had so much power at that particular time. As I said, HEW came on campus to review the situation. That particular week, and that was another thing, they thought that HEW was just going to be there for a day. And they found out HEW was going to be there for a week. And guess who they were going to interview? Yes. So I didn't know anything about it until that Monday. I worked in the library, as I said, and we all had the same type of duties. And one of the duties that everybody had and shared was to vacuum the floors, the carpet. So it was my time this particular day. And guess what? They told me for 1 week, I only had to sit behind the desk. I was not, when I went to get the vacuum cleaner, the librarian rushed up to me. She said, "Oh, no, you're not going to vacuum that." I said, "Why?" I said, it's my turn. "No, you're going to stay behind the desk. You're not going to dust." I mean, these are the different types of things we had to do for work study. It wasn't just with the books. But that particular week, all I had to do was sit behind that desk. So I said, okay. During that week, the president asked me to come got word to me to ask me to come to to his office. I said, "Oh my God, what did I do?" The president wanted to see me. I'm thinking expulsion, but I don't know why. What did I do? What did I say? And I not only entered the office, but in his private office. I never will forget that black chair and those red drapes behind his black chair. And he asked me to sit, and I did. And he said, "We got HEW, Health, Education, and Welfare." And I'm thinking, well, what does that have to do with me? And he explained to me that they were going to interview me and find out how, what kind of experience did I have. So he said, "Well, do you know what you're going to say?" I said, "No, sir." And I kept saying to myself, "Oh my God, I really don't want to talk to them because I really don't want to tell them how I really felt, you know." And something just kept reassuring me. And so sure enough, when they interviewed me, they asked me, could I explain why I was the only black person on that campus for 3 years. And I started to say what was told to me. I said, "Well, sir, you'll have to ask them." I said, "Let them explain." And I thought about it prior to the interview. I said, "Lord, should I tell the truth or should I just keep my mouth shut?" And the thought came to me that said, if you speak the truth, then they may lose funding and you're going to be denied access to a lot of students, especially the students who live in Newberry. You're going to be denying them access. Then another thought came and said, if you don't tell how you feel or what you experience, and if somebody gets hurt on this campus or get killed, then you got to live with that. And finally, the decision was, what right do I have to deny other people access? They have to go through the same thing that I went through. It's their right. And like I said, I didn't offer or volunteer any information that would jeopardize the funding. There were 3 people that whenever we had any type of public gathering, football games, etc., my grandmother, Carrie Anderson Marshall, my great aunt, who was my grandmother's younger sister, Janie Anderson Gregory, and my second grade school teacher, Miss Jenny K. Gillum. I would carry them to all the events, the receptions, whatever. because I wanted the world to know how proud I was of them. I wanted the world to know these are the people who are responsible for me being on this campus. I would say to them that it's God's plan. We have choices. And I usually reference Jonah and the whale. God had a plan for Jonas. Jonas didn't want to do it. He didn't want to follow the plan. And finally, after being thrown into the whale, he yielded. And he could serve God's purpose. And the outcome was that it was better for the world because he did what God asked him to do. And I thought that initially that I wound up at Newberry College because of the because of what occurred between my grandmother and myself. But then I realized that was God's plan from the very beginning, was for me to have enrolled and endured what I had to do. I can talk about it now. I can share things that happen now. But for a long time, I couldn't. People would ask me, well, we want you to come and talk about your experience at Newberry College. No, like I said, I can talk about the good, the bad, but the ugliness overwhelmed the good and the bad. And when I was at Newberry College, I was there by myself for 3 years. In one of my positions as an educator in the classroom, I was the only Black person for 3 years. Although I was with a lot of people, we had orientation the freshman year, I was still lonely. And loneliness can lead to depression and you not be aware of it. It impacted me in a way that I developed mental health issues and didn't realize that I was developing mental health issues based on that experience. And I give you situations like that can affect your mental health for a long time. And I guess that experience at Newberry College had prepared me for the workforce. Because nowhere in the world that, for some reason, I felt that the civil rights movement and everything, that we had arrived. But even today, it's quite evident that if we're not vigilant, that we're going to repeat, history is going to repeat itself. And it's going to be worse than it was when we were coming up.